Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jaime Ballaure, Deputy Regional Director for Latin America and the Caribbean and Director for the World Food Program, New York Liaison Office. He will speak on the state of food in the Americas.
Assistant Secretary General, Director General, special guests, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen. The World Food Programme is thankful for the IICA and the OAS invitation to this conference and feels privileged for the opportunity of working jointly with these and other key actors in response to the current global crisis. We would like to congratulate the IICA for all the good work and leadership in the organization of this conference. As it has been recognized by various international organizations and academic institutions, the high food prices of 2007 and 2008 had serious effects on the food and nutritional security of vulnerable populations throughout the world, as well as for macroeconomic stability and political security. Although global food and fuel prices have reduced significantly in recent months, they remain higher than 2-3 years ago when the price crisis began, and the decline has not necessarily translated to lower food prices in local markets. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, by June 2009, following the rise of food prices in 2008 and the international crisis, the number of hungry people in the world has reached a historic record of 1.02 billion, which represents an increase of 100 million people compared to 2008. In Latin America and the Caribbean, while the efforts of governments and the international cooperation to fight hunger have paid off during the period of 1990-2006, when 8 million people were able to overcome malnourishment, current estimations from FAO indicate that the achievements of the past 15 years in reducing hunger could be lost in only 3 years due to the economic and food prices crisis. In this region, the number of malnourished people reached 52 million in 2009, which represents an increase of 12.8% compared to the previous year. The availability of food in local markets and the increasing number of hungry people suggests that the relation between supply and demand has suffered a structural change in which food prices remain higher and create a greater challenge for achieving food security, even in the long term. The current economic slowdown and the financial crunch have decreased investment in agriculture at a time when it is urgently needed and has reduced households' income generated by the reception of remittances, having immediate effects on their spending in education and health, as well as in the quantity and quality of food they consume. Particularly in rural areas of this region, where 34 million people are indigent, small farmers often face dramatic situations of undernutrition and chronic food insecurity, and are generally excluded from formal social protection schemes, pushing their families, and in particular their children, into the almost irreversible cycle of indigence and intergenerational undernutrition. Women, children and indigenous peoples are most vulnerable and vastly suffer the consequences of the crisis, aggravated by the effects of climate change and recurrent natural disasters. Poor families in developing countries spend between 50 and 80% of their income on food, so a rise in prices or a loss of purchasing power of the family poses irreversible consequences for their health and future development. Women have a crucial role both in addressing food and nutrition security and in the implementation of long-term solutions for the recovery of small farming agriculture sector in Latin America and the Caribbean. In the short term, however, women in rural marginal areas particularly need the support from nutritional and social protection schemes, as they have the direct responsibility for their children and the household economy in their critically vulnerable context. Investments in nutrition are amongst the most profitable available, especially considering that the social cost for not intervening in fighting hunger and undernutrition is extremely high. According to the Cost of Hunger, the study elaborated jointly by WFP and ECLAC in 2007, the derived costs of malnutrition in health, education and loss of productivity in the region are equivalent to 6.4% of the GDP in Central America and 2.6% of GDP in the Andean region every year. As it is widely recognized among the key factors hampering the food security and nutritional status of vulnerable populations in the region is the insufficient access to food. In L'Aquila Summit this past July, heads of state, government and international and regional organizations recognized that access to adequate and affordable nutritious food is a critical aspect of food security, and that it is necessary to improve access to food through more equitable income generation and distribution, employment creation and income prospects in developing countries.